Alright, so, I've already done one recording of this, and I realized 24 minutes in that the audio that was recording my voice stopped recording about 18 minutes in, and I had to do this whole thing all over again, so this is now number 2 of recording this, and, just gonna make this really quick. We are trying to prove Isabella that she's not a witch, and the Professor has just shown up to help us. Will he save us? Of course he will.
What is the meaning of this intrusion?
I have something I believe will be of use to the defense. A weapon of sorts. That's the Grand Grimoire. All of this world's magic is contained within its pages. Without it, this trial cannot reach a satisfactory conclusion.
The Grand Grimoire.
Welcome, Professor, to the courtroom. We did it again, Mr. Wright. Well now, it seems things are already afoot here, although the real contest begins now. Are you fully prepared? So, are you here to help us?
Of course! The Professor always helps people in trouble. It is the duty of every gentleman, right, Professor?
Professor? There is a saying that I find quite useful in situations such as this. There is a time for words and a time for action. Right. You have been working as a baker in this town up until now, have you not? I must say, I'm a little mystified. I'd expected you to be more familiar with this world and its system of magic. Yeah. How can I put this? I guess that's not quite the full story. Is that so? I kind of had an epiphany just now. I remember all sorts of things. Like how I'm not actually a baker. Well, that's great and all, but what about Maya? I mean, they kind of just off-screen it. Oh, I realize I'm a spirit medium. Like I said, they just kind of shove spirit medium like a little to the side of this game. And, well, how magic can't really exist. But spirit medium does. Then it would seem I was correct about you, Mr. Wright. You are not, in fact, a citizen of this town. Is that correct? Right, at least it seems that way. However, for now, we have no option but to accept this world and its rules as a reality. Without first understanding those rules, I'm afraid you will not be able to save Miss Cantabella. But things like magic doesn't exist in fairy tales and something I missed that. I know I hit that too hard, too fast. Sorry! I'm afraid, Mr. Wright, it would seem magic does in fact exist in this world. Such a truth cannot be denied. Indeed, that is why the Grand Grimoire is a weapon well suited for this witch trial. At the moment, you are tantamount to a knight without a sword. I feel more like an attorney without a chance, actually. Oh, this is just normal day for you in the courtroom, right?
Right then, Mr. Wright. I'll explain how the Grand Grimoire works. Have a look at the touchscreen. There you'll see the Grand Grimoire button. Touching the Grand Grimoire button will open up the Grand Grimoire.
You will be able to present spells from the Grand Grimoire in much the same way you would present evidence. This book will surely be a most important asset for us in this trial.
Oh, that reminds me. I've gone ahead and bookmarked the spell Ignace for you.
The spell Ignace has been bookmarked in the Grand Grimoire. Thank you, Luke.
Ignace? That's the magic spell all of the witnesses said they heard, right? Nick, you should take a look at that spell.
All I have to do is touch the Grand Grimoire button, huh? Well, there you go. Anyway, Ignace, the infernal spell, summons a circle of flame within a 1-meter radius of this caster. Requires an incantation and scepter to cast. Okie dokie. The defender has been given more than enough time. It would seem this trial has reached its end. Is that understood, Sir Apprentice Baker? This case is quite straightforward, with very little room for doubt. The witness's testimony, coupled with the illustration of the time of the murder, makes it quite clear what must have occurred. This murder was a result of magic, and furthermore, the caster of said magic was none other than the accused. That, Sir Apprentice Baker, is the truth. Best you go back to baking, for I believe your days in the courtroom have crumbled. Ah! Is everything okay, Mr. Wright? Yes! It would seem that photographs do not exist in this world. Photos don't exist? Well, I guess that makes sense. The old time period and all. The sketch drawn by the court illustrator. Therein lies your final chance, Mr. Wright. My final chance? I understand the witnesses have already finished their testimony. However, if you would perhaps find a clear contradiction within this illustration. There's another contradiction? In that case, there's still hope that I can turn this around.
Mr. Wright, you have to hurry! Look, the judge! He looks ready to deliver his verdict any second now!
This is it. This is my last chance. Oops, don't make Wright British now. What should I do? Give up, clearly.
Hold it!
1 second, Your Honor. The defense requests permission to have another look at the court illustration. I think there might be a contradiction in there.
Objection!
You are already out of time. All testimony and evidence given thus far has been proven to be accurate.
Objection!
I wouldn't be so sure, Inquisitor Barnum. There's just one thing you've overlooked, a piece of evidence within this book. The Grand Grimoire. Absurd. I overlooked something. You are the defender here. You should have examined the tome earlier. You're right, I should have. But unfortunately, I was nothing but a simple baker until just now. Interesting. You've certainly begun to show your true colors, Sir Blue Knight. Let us see what type of knight you truly are. Have at you! The defender will now show us this supposed contradiction. The court illustration and the Grand Grimoire. Somewhere there's a contradiction between those two, and I've got to find it. This is my last chance. Defender, use this magnifying glass to locate the point of relevance, and reveal to the court the location of this contradiction. Sure thing. It is her hand, the one with the lantern.
Got it!
The contradiction is right here. The hand of the accused. She seems to be holding a lantern. What is your point? According to this tome, using the spell Ignaze requires the use of the witch's scepter, as well as an incantation, isn't that right? Correct. For the witches to use magic, they must be in possession of a witch's scepter, also known as a telia magica. If that's the case, then there's one thing that doesn't add up. Take another look at Miss Cantabella's hands. Tell me, do you see the witch's scepter in either of her hands? There we go. Let's see you point that sword at me now.
Who did it, Mr. Wright? But wasn't that contradiction just a little too obvious?
You may be right, Luke.
Eh?
It would certainly appear that the good Inquisitor is taking this particular oversight rather too well. That is correct, Sir Apprentice Baker, but you should not underestimate me. This is perhaps your first time seeing this item, is it not? Right here is the very scepter you mentioned. One of the witnesses found it tossed in the shrubbery on the side of the path. Ah, yes, indeed, that was I. I located it. My feet found themselves ensnared in the blasted thing, and it sent me flying through the air. Somehow, I'm not surprised to hear you fell, Gramps. This scepter does seem to carry a most sinister air. Indeed, my lord. However, the scepter will only work while in the hands of a witch, with the incantation being said aloud.
Aw, that's too bad. I wanted to try lighting some stuff on fire.
Please don't look at me when you say that. Maya, please. You see, there are 2 magic gems set in this scepter. Magic gems? Looks like a red gem and a white gem. These gems each contain a particular magic spell. By simply looking at these magic gems, one can easily determine which magic spell can be used.
Nick, quick, look at this page.
Okay. It looks just like the red gem. Is that The red magic gem? Indeed, the red gem you see here is the spell Ignaze, and if you look carefully, you should notice that the scepter also has one more spell that can be used. One more spell? That must be the white gem.
Mr. Wright, I found it! Here's the spell for the white magic gem!
Demire, the vanishing... Oh, well, fuck. Causes anything the caster touches to vanish from sight. Simply chant Amire to make it reappear. Welp. Causes anything the caster touches to vanish from sight. Oh. I see you managed to work it out in that crusty head of yours. That's just... It can't be! The reason the witch's scepter couldn't be seen is because the magic spell Demiri had made it disappear. Yep. Barnum, don't break the bench! That's right, in other words... The accused conjured a cowardly spell to camouflage her own use of magic. No... No way! Order! 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 Inquisitor Barnum, please submit the scepter into evidence.
Objection!
Hold on, please! Is there a problem, Sir Baker? Okay, I understand this is a witch's scepter. However, whether or not the scepter was in Miss Cantabella's possession has not yet been proven. What are you talking about, Sir Apprentice Baker? Isn't it obvious? I'm talking about fingerprints. Supposing Miss Cantabella did in fact handle this witch's scepter, then her fingerprint should still be on it. Don't think that's gonna fly in this court. Need some awkward music here. Oh. What's with this silence? You said fingerprints. Inquisitor Barnum, tell me, just what is this Baker babbling about? I haven't the slightest clue, my lord. It is the Baker's first time in court, after all. Huh? I'm afraid it's no use, Mr. Wright. In this world, it would seem the concept of fingerprinting does not yet exist. What?! Welp, I can't believe it! As I've said already, best you head back to the bakery, lest you continue to serve this court more of your half-baked ideas. They're about as half-baked as your terrible puns, Barnum. So many bread puns. Forensic science does not exist here. Instead, this is a world in which witches and magic are accepted as fact. Truly fascinating. I'm really glad you find it really fascinating, Professor. Really. What the heck? There are just way too many things I don't know about this world. Mr. Wright, I believe you may be able to take these things you don't know and use them to your advantage. Huh? The Inquisition believes there is no room for debate on this matter. The accused clearly attempted to conceal her magic. Better luck next time, Sir Apprentice Baker. Mayhap your next loaf will not leave such a bitter taste in our mouths. Now then, my lord, I believe it is time. I ask that you render your unwavering verdict.
Objection!
No! Okay, I can't be the only one who's all like, oh my god, Professor Layton is using objections and hold-its. Pardon the interruption. May I have a word, Inquisitor Barnum? What's that? Who might you be? My name is Herschel Layton. I am a friend of the accused. Inquisitor Barnum, please allow me to confirm what you believe happened on the night of the crime. You claim that the witch's scepter was made to disappear through the use of magic, is that correct? Indeed, through the magic spell Demire. If possible, would you mind providing proof of this particular claim? What? You claim the scepter was not seen. Indeed, that is one possibility. However, a wise man must always consider every possibility. What say you, Inquisitor Barnum? Can the Inquisition fulfill the request presented by the gentleman with the unusual hat? The Inquisition cannot honor this request for proof. No shit. If you are certain that the accused is not a witch, then the burden of proof lies at the feet of the defender. Come on, it's the Inquisition's job to prove that a crime was committed. As I thought. Indeed, it would appear the accepted method of thinking in this world differs greatly from our own. How regrettable, Sir Apprentice Baker, and you, Sir Dark Hat. Inquisitor Barnum, sir! Should you require it, I stand ready to lend my testimony!
Would anyone care to purchase any pre-testimony flowers? I've got a lovely array of bewitching lilies. Snowy and I will not be dismissed so easily. We came here to expose the identity of this witch. Isn't it right, Precious?
A witch's scepter, you say? Yes, yes, I know of such a scepter. Allow me to elucidate the matter. How about no? What do you think, Inquisitor Barnum? Your witnesses appear to have something to say on the subject. Very well. Most honorable witnesses, I grant your request to testify once more. Tell the court all you know regarding this Telia Magica. Well, we've somehow managed to keep the trial going. Oh, you won, Sir Dark Hat. Please, Mr. Wright, Mr. Layton will suffice for the time being. Okay, I know the professor is, like, perfect as hell, but mind reading! Did he just take it from out of the book of Emma Skye or something? Because that is... I don't even know. When I saw her, the witch was carrying a large milk bucket in one hand and a lantern in the other.
The girl had the lantern hanging from her wrist. Her hand was contorted in a strange way. I got a good look at her hand, and it looked for certain that she was gripping something.
The witch was holding a scepter in her right hand. She did not drop it once before she was apprehended. Did not drop it once, huh? I see. The accused's hand was contorted in a strange way. I do believe this is quite an important piece of evidence.
I saw it. I most certainly saw it. She was holding an invisible scepter.
Okay, how can you see something that's invisible?
We saw it too! It was the girl up there, without a doubt!
I as well. These old eyes don't see as well as they once did, but I witnessed the hazy, blurry form of the accused quite clearly. Don't tell the court you're blind. My eyesight is as sharp as the edge of my trusty blade. A toy sword. How fascinating. Although I wonder if he understands the implications of that analogy on his vision. I don't think he does, Professor. Sir Baker, you may proceed with your interrogation. Mr. Layton's given me another chance. I can't let it go to waste. Alright, so, for these statements, we're only presenting the Telia Magica at the end with Wordsmith, where he's talking about, it can't have been dropped, because that ain't the case, considering the condition of the lantern. So present that.
Objection!
There is a high probability that Miss Cantabella was not holding the scepter. But if, for the sake of argument, she had been holding it, she would undoubtedly have dropped it at the time of the incident. What do you mean? What I mean, Inquisitor Barnum, is that this lantern proves the defendant was not holding the scepter.
Objection!
What foolishness are you spouting, Sir Apprentice Baker? The lantern's handle was around the accused's wrist.
Objection!
Accused wrist. Meaning she could have held the scepter? I'm afraid that's not the problem here, Inquisitor Barnum. The problem is with the broken glass and the mud plaster all over it. What? The rain had ended just as the murder was taking place. That would make the path fairly muddy, don't you agree? When the thieves grabbed Miss Cantabella by the arm, the lantern must have fallen into the mud. The lantern fell into the mud?
Why, of course! That makes sense, doesn't it, my little snowy woey?
Well, what are you saying, Inquisitor Barnum? If she was holding the scepter at that time, that would mean that she dropped the lantern. That when she dropped the lantern, the scepter would have fallen along with it. Huh? What's going on?
Inquisitor Barnum seems speechless. That defendant managed to turn the thing around, even though he's just some baker.
No way! Paid the witch's accomplice no heed. They're just trying to trick you. Tough crowd. Just what is this?
Hold it! One moment, please. Everyone, please listen. Didn't we all just stand here and explain to the court that what we clearly saw? It's a lantern, so what? What's so special about it? Explain to me so I can understand.
So that you can understand? Well, I mean, it's pretty obvious just by looking at it. Mr. Wright. What is it, Mr. Layton? There is something about this witness. Miss Kira, was it? Tell me, Miss Kira. How good is your eyesight exactly? As you just heard Mr. Wright explain, the answer to your query is quite obvious at a glance. Tell me, are you able to see the mud present on this lantern?
Mud? What mud? What are you talking about?
Your Honor, did you hear that just now? Oh, yes, indeed. What does it mean exactly? It means that Miss Kira's poor eyesight is the reason she cannot see the mud present on this lantern. In other words, the validity of Miss Kira's testimony is questionable at best. Oh, Kira. Order! Order in the court! What is the meaning of this? What say you in your defense, witness? I highly recommend you give us nothing but the truth.
I'm sorry, Inquisitor Barnum. It's true. I need to wear glasses. All the time, in fact.
You need to wear glasses?
Uh-huh. Now that you mention it, I did notice something odd about you today.
Oh, I thought you looked familiar. Gone is the mist that clouded my mind. In its place, clarity. Fair maiden, a pair of spectacles are as valuable as a shield to a knight. Make haste and procure another pair. Now then, Miss Kira, tell me, at the time of the incident, were you wearing your glasses?
No, I was not wearing them. The truth is, I lost my glasses a couple days ago.
You lost them? So her glasses were missing during the time of the incident? Mr. Wright. Excuse me. Might I recommend that you keep note of this fact? It could prove useful later. Got it! Am I to believe there is nothing left to prove on this matter? At the time of the murder, the accused did not have a witch's scepter in her possession.
Hold it!
Wait just a moment! Snowy and I have much more left to say!
No. That's right! My trusty sword of justice shall cut through this witch's treacherous lies! No.
I may have lost my glasses, but I haven't lost my will to testify.
Please, no. Yes, keep eating your flowers. Eureka! I remember now. Old age has a way of sneaking up on me. I'm sure you must understand. No, I don't want to understand. Yeah, I understand. I understand you're all completely ridiculous. Thank you, Wright. It would seem we have not yet arrived at a clear-cut verdict. Witnesses, you may once again begin to testify to the court. Tell us about the scepter and how it was used in the detestable display of witchcraft that you will witness tonight. That you all witnessed tonight. Excuse me. Okay. The girl was not holding the scepter in the same hand as the lantern, which means it must have been in her other hand.
The accused is holding a milk bucket in the court illustration. Who's to say she wasn't also holding the scepter in that hand?
Do you guys not see the illustration?
That milk bucket is lighter than it looks. Even Snowy could carry it, so she could have easily held the scepter as well.
I did not see this milk bucket. Everything felt like an illusion. Oh, god damn it, wordsmith. See what I mean with these, like, witnesses? Being really dumb? The scepter was in her other hand, you say? Indeed, such a proposal is feasible. Sir Baker. Yes, Your Honor. Is it the strangest... Excuse me. It is the strangest thing. The longer this trial goes on, the more you begin to resemble a legitimate defender. Huh? Well, no matter. Defender, you may begin your interrogation. I love how he went from defender to Sir Baker. Oh, from Sir Baker to defender. Excuse me. Okay, let's press on Mary because... How does she know that it's lighter than it looks? Press?
Hold it!
Just 1 second, Miss Mary.
What is it now? Snowy and I don't have all night, you know. Come on then, out with it.
I just have one question regarding your testimony. How exactly did you know that the bucket Miss Cantabella was carrying was light enough for Snowy to carry?
Huh? Oh, well. You see, the girl always uses the same bucket whenever she comes by to buy milk from us. Naturally, I could have seen that bucket countless times before.
You've seen it countless times before. That doesn't answer my question. You specifically said that bucket is lighter than it looks. Miss Mary, at some point tonight, you must have held that bucket yourself.
Oh dear.
Now then, please enlighten us as to exactly when you got your hands on the bucket. Mary?
It's true. By the time Robs and mugs had already been burnt to ash, and then I noticed the milk in that bucket that the girl had been holding in her hand.
The milk?
Then, when those two went up in a blaze, Snow and I made a dash for the bucket. As the girl stood there looking confused, we took the milk from her to make sure it was okay.
Huh?
Unbelievable. Witness, you... Well, it was just so wasteful. I thought all of that disgusting ash falling into such precious milk. I felt I just had to protect the milk, so I took the bucket back to the farm with me.
Oh, dear Lord. Madam, do you mean to tell the court that you took evidence from a crime scene back home with you? That explains why we were unable to locate the milk bucket at the scene.
Oh my, you're scaring poor Snowy! Here, I thought I brought the bucket with me anyway. See, I didn't even tamper with the milk.
I'm sure you didn't. The court shall accept this milk bucket as evidence. Looks like that's one more piece of evidence for us. Now, will the gentleman with the gentleman with the impressive beard proceed with his testimony? Beer buddies. Okay, now we're presenting this milk bucket at, I believe, Wordsmith. Wait, no. Wordsmith is not. Oops. Okay, I meant to go somewhere else. I'm trying to remember what I was supposed to do here. You're presenting the milk bucket to one of the statements, so give me a second. That's it for the testimony. Still, something is bound to be there. I can't believe Mary took the bucket home with her.
Miss Mary must be one of those thieving forest wolves we've been hearing about.
Let us hope she doesn't eat like a wolf as well, Luke, for her Snowy's sake. I've got this new piece of evidence, but the question is, how can I use it? You know, looking at this milk bucket now, it does look sort of different from the sketch, don't you think? It might be a good idea to get a nice good look at the actual milk bucket. Yeah, in the illustration, she's holding this like ropey bar thing, and you can see in the actual milk bucket, it's just a stick. But anyway, this is why we need to present it at this statement. Yes, we present the milk bucket to Knightley's statement.
Objection!
All of your testimonies have come to the same conclusion. The scepter was not in her right hand with the lantern, therefore it must have been in her other hand that was holding the bucket. However, that's not it. Not by a long shot. What do you mean? Contrary to what one of the witnesses state, the milk bucket was in fact at the crime scene. And you'll also notice something about this bucket. Take another look at the court illustration. Something about the bucket seems a bit odd, wouldn't you say?
Objection!
This illustration was based on eyewitnesses' accounts, so a small discrepancy or two is conceivable.
Objection!
Actually, Inquisitor Bonham, it's highly likely that this illustration is much less accurate than you think. In fact, there is a blatant contradiction present in this illustration. Admittedly, it does at first look possible that Miss Cantabella was holding the scepter and the bucket at the same time. However, if you look at the real milk bucket, and that possibly goes up in smoke. Here, let's have a look at the real deal. Notice the handle? That cannot be! Oh, but it is! This particular milk bucket has 2 pieces of wood on either side of the handle. If you were to try and hold both the scepter and this bucket, well, let's just say that'd be a challenge, to put it simply. There is no way— oh, sorry. To put it simply, there is no way anyone could have hold both the bucket and the scepter at once. And we'll continue this, well, everyone's reaction to this conclusion in the next video, because we are at 30 minutes now. So I will see you guys later. Time. It would seem this trial has reached its end. Is that understood, Sir Apprentice Baker? This case is quite straightforward, with very little room for doubt. The witness's testimony, coupled with the illustration of the time of the murder, makes it quite clear what must have occurred. This murder was a result of magic, and furthermore, the caster of said magic was none other than the accused. That, Sir Apprentice Baker, is the truth. Best you go back to baking, for I believe your days in the courtroom have crumbled. Ah! Is everything okay, Mr. Wright? Yes! It would seem that photographs do not exist in this world. Photos don't exist? Well, I guess that makes sense, the old time period and all. The sketch drawn by the court illustrator. Therein lies your final chance, Mr. Wright. My final chance? I understand the witnesses have already fit in the courtroom, right?
Right then, Mr. Wright. I'll explain how the Grand Grimoire works. Have a look at the touchscreen. There you'll see the Grand Grimoire button. Touching the Grand Grimoire button will open up the Grand Grimoire.
You will be able to present spells from the Grand Grimoire in much the same way you would present evidence. This book will surely be a most important asset for us in this trial.
Oh, that reminds me. I've gone ahead and bookmarked the spell Ignace for you.
The spell Ignace has been bookmarked in the Grand Grimoire. Thank you, Luke.
Ignace? That's the magic spell all of the witnesses said they heard, right? Nick, you should take a look at that spell.
All I have to do is touch the Grand Grimoire button, huh? Well, there you go. Anyway, Ignace, the infernal spell, summons a circle of flame within a 1-meter radius of this caster. Requires an incantation and scepter to cast. Okie dokie. The defender has been given more than enough. Alright, so, I've already done one recording of this, and I realized 24 minutes in that the audio that was recording my voice stopped recording about 18 minutes in, and I had to do this whole thing all over again, so this is now number 2 of recording this, and, just gonna make this really quick. We are trying to prove Isabella that she's not a witch, and the professor has just shown up to help us. Will he save us? Of course he will.
What is the meaning of this intrusion?
I have something I believe will be of use to the defense. A weapon of sorts.
That's...
The Grand Grimoire. All of this world's magic is contained within its pages. Without it, this trial cannot reach a satisfactory conclusion.
the Grand Grimoire.
Welcome, Professor, to the courtroom. We did it again, Mr. Wright. Well now, it seems things are already afoot here, although the real contest begins now. Are you can't really exist. That spirit medium does. Then it would seem I was correct about you, Mr. Wright. You are not, in fact, a citizen of this town. Is that correct? Right, at least it seems that way. However, for now, we have no option but to accept this world and its rules as a reality. Without first understanding those rules, I'm afraid you will not be able to save Miss Cantabella. But things like magic doesn't exist in fairy tales and something I missed that. I know I hit that too hard, too fast. Sorry! I'm afraid, Mr. Wright, it would seem magic does in fact exist in this world. Such a truth cannot be denied. Indeed, that is why the Grand Grimoire is a weapon well suited for this witch trial. At the moment, you are tantamount to a knight without a sword. I feel more like an attorney without a chance, actually. Oh, this is just normal day for you and fully prepared. So, are you here to help us?
Of course! The professor always helps people in trouble. It is the duty of every gentleman, right, Professor?
Professor? There is a saying that I find quite useful in situations such as this. There is a time for words and a time for action. Right. You have been working as a baker in this town up until now, have you not? I must say, I'm a little mystified. I'd expected you to be more familiar with this world and its system of magic. Yeah. How can I put this? I guess that's not quite the full story. Is that so? I kind of had an epiphany just now. I remember all sorts of things. Like how I'm not actually a baker. Well, that's great and all, but what about Maya? I mean, they kind of just off-screen at, oh, I realize I'm a spirit medium. Like I said, they just kind of shove spirit medium like a little to the side of this game. And, well, how magic